Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. And to rejoice and come in, and to rejoice and come in. Today will be a joyful day, and to rejoice and come in. Please rise in body and spirit and join us answering the call of love. The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. Sometimes we build a barrier to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
For Unitarian Universalists and other denominations who follow congregational polity, an ordination is what makes someone a minister. And so we are here today to make Beckett a minister. Now, that is not to say she hasn't done her part. She's been working very hard for many years. There are 3 formal elements that prepare her for this day. One is a Master's of Divinity. Second is a certification by the Ministerial Fellowship Committee of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and let me tell you, that's a big deal. And lastly is a call to ministry, a call that she's heard from inside of her true self and from all the feedback that many of you have given her, a call to either the parish or community ministry. And Beckett has done or received all 3 of those things, which bring her to this day. So ordination to the ministry is a ritual. It's a sacred act performed by one or several local congregations, not by the hierarchy of any denomination. It requires a vote of the congregations or their board, and for Beckett, that was done by the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder, the whole congregation, and by the Jefferson Unitarian Church's board. So, members of both congregations are here today. I see you. You are here to conduct this special and sacred act of ordination. You are the ones that do this. Members of churches beyond those 2 are gathered here today, too, to witness this sacred act, and ministerial colleagues have gathered here to welcome Beckett into their midst and to promise to support her, you, in your ministry. So all of this is done in the context of worship. And for us, we use the Old English definition of worship as Unitarian Universalists, which means to ascribe worth to that which we value. That is what worship means. We ascribe worth to that which we value. And Beckett, we value you. We value you, and we value our free faith that allows us to conduct a ritual just like this. So all of this is happening today, and through this ceremony, Beckett will be changed. Reverend Nancy Bowen always says that someone's molecules are all switched up and rearranged during an ordination. And it's true. So this day and this ritual mark a major transformation for Beckett, a major transition for her. And we are all part of that amazing process. So, without further ado, let the ceremony begin. Come now into worship.
We are members of Beckett's Internship Committee from Jefferson Unitarian Church.
When Beckett came to JUC, it had been a long time since we'd had an intern. We needed to relearn how to be a teaching congregation while Beckett learned to define her ministerial voice.
It wasn't quite what any of us expected. A cancer diagnosis and treatment will do that, but not in the way that you might think. We're talking about one tenacious woman. She was determined, and when Beckett is determined, there is no stopping her. That her internship would not be defined by her illness. Instead, her time with us was defined by its wholeness.
I remember one topic in the final evaluation was to discuss how she was preparing for the ministry. And one of us wrote, to say Beckett is preparing for the ministry is a bit misleading. He said she arrived at church fully prepared to do the work. Now, it's entirely possible that some of the ministers just did one of those discreet inner eye rolls at saying that, but not because of Beckett, but because of the audacious thought that anyone can ever be fully prepared for the wide-ranging and really demanding work of ministry. But come on, unroll those eyes. This is Beckett we're talking about.
Like handling, shall we say, challenging people, leading a 5-week class with 15 to 20 participants, she was not only able to get even the most introverted to participate, but you know those 1 or 2 people in every UU crowd that have a slight tendency to over-participate? She handled them too, and I'm not even sure that they realized she was doing it.
Or there was beauty to behold when some well-meaning congregant was determined to help her with food or rides or healthcare advice. And in minister talk, she set boundaries so graciously that they thank her for declining their help.
It was a remarkable year. We couldn't have asked for an intern with a greater ability to deal with setbacks gracefully and maturely.
In fact, we think we should call her our lemonade intern. Her humor, compassion, wicked intelligence, tenacity, and a deep love for the ministry will do that.
We light this chalice in love and congratulations and excitement for what comes next.
As we gather here this afternoon to celebrate the call of one among us to the professional Unitarian Universalist ministry, we are embraced by a cloud of invisible witnesses, spiritual ancestors whose examples inspire us, religious upon whose accomplishments we build. Let us invite their spirits to be with us this afternoon in support of Beckett's ordination. We invite the spirits of our Unitarian and Universalist and Unitarian Universalist for religious forebears who throughout the centuries have fought for religious freedom, for the health and survival of our planet, and for justice for all peoples. In particular, this afternoon, we invoke the name of Elizabeth Palmer Peabody, a Unitarian laywoman from Beckett's own part of the world in New England, who was the first to translate a Buddhist text into English. It was a portion of the Lotus Sutra relating to the Buddha as preacher, especially fitting as we launch the ministry of a new preacher. We invite the spirits of all of Beckett's personal spiritual teachers. In particular, this afternoon, we invoke the names of her Kripalu yoga teacher, Vidyama Carolyn Dell'Uomo, and through her, Beckett's root teacher, Swami Kripalu. We invite all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times and 10 directions. In particular, this afternoon, we invoke the name of Avalokiteshvara, the one who hears the cries of the world and who teaches us to listen with all of our attention and open-heartedness that we might tend to the suffering around us. May these and the multitude of invisible witnesses be with Beckett and with us this afternoon. May they give us their blessings and join in our affirmation of this new minister. May they inspire her call and ours as well to service toward the end of suffering of all beings everywhere. Amen.
You say your heart's been turned to stone. You say you want to be left alone. You say love only made you weep and moan. Well, let me tell you something that you know in your bones. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down the rock. You say your soul's like a dry riverbed. Stopped waiting for the water long ago. You said you better pray all night for the rain instead. Love comes like a mountain over your head. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down the rock. You say waiting for love takes too long. It dulls the sharp mind and weakens the strong. Well, you may be right, but you may be wrong, 'cause love can take a long tumbling down. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down the rock. The river washes over every hump it can, feeling the gravel and mud in your hands. Nothing can stand against love's command. Every boulder turns into a grain of sand. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the water that wears down the rock. Love is the power that won't be stopped. Love is the water that wears down the rock.
The purpose of an ordination sermon is to invite the gathered body into a reflection on the purpose and nature of ministry, passing beyond the particularities of the ordinand. It is our time as Unitarian Universalists, a people not of creed, but of covenant, to reflect on our union. How is it with Unitarian Universalism? Whither from here? How shall we lead and follow? Now, Beckett has chosen the previous song by Brother Son, brought to us here by Sophia's Journey, as a grounding theology for today. Love is the water that wears down the rock. I'm going to try to build from this metaphor to talk about who we are as a people of faith in a turbulent time. Because let us not be confused. These are the times that try our souls. There come moments in history when we are tested, when the power of our faith and our most essential values are set upon. And these days shall take the measure of every single one of us. We may measure up, or we may fall short, and that accounting shall come at a cost either way. What will save us and keep us moving forward will be the quality and the capacity of Unitarian Universalism in the days ahead, as expressed through the wisdom and the courage of our leaders, our determination and the will of the people who are its body. I hope it goes without saying that I'm not talking about some generic Unitarian Universalist somewhere out there. I'm talking about you, and I'm talking about Beckett. I mean all of us here today. So let's talk about love. I feel fairly certain that there is no more familiar or generically comforting concept than love. But the question certainly must be, what do we mean when we say love? poetry and music throughout history have glorified it. But how shall we respond when those immortal poets, Hal David and Jackie Shannon, declare, "What the world needs now is love," but I'm going to stop there. When I speak of love, I am not speaking of some sentimental and weak response. I am speaking of that force which all great religions have seen as the supreme unifying principle of life. Love is the most durable power in the world, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King proclaimed years ago. Love, as I and many religious progressives understand it, is dangerous. We advocate for love that surprises, disrupts, and alters the status quo, that expresses itself in diverse ways, that comes in rainbow colors. Those who want to preserve the existing social and economic order invest in prohibiting such love, says the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, former president of Starr King School for the Ministry, somewhat more recently. Now, we're wasting our time and indeed putting our lives and our future at grave risk if we think that getting together and talking about a warm and comfortable, embracing love is what the world needs. That's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about a tidal force of love, a love that rips us out of our comfort zone, a love that can crush and destroy that which stands against it, a love that can carry us above the powers and principalities of this world and wash us up on the shores of a new country if we can but ride those waves, if we can harness its power. Love is Shiva, creation, destruction, regeneration. Love is the water that wears down the rock. So let us agree this afternoon that the love we're talking about isn't sweet. It isn't the love that I may have for you personally. It is the creative, transformative power of life itself, which demands everything and yet is itself the source of everything we might long for: justice, peace, compassion, belonging. This description of love is a reflection on the question of love's power. One thing that progressives, religious or otherwise, are often accused of, and I think with some good reason, is an unwillingness to fully embrace power. This is because we might rightly be leery of the models of power we have experienced, namely that cis, heteropatriarchal, and usually white supremacist form of power over that has dominion. We progressives feel in our guts that this transforming power of love works differently, but we are hesitant. We do not fully understand how to enter into it, to take it into our hands and work with it. So too often, we stand meekly aside and let its power wash past us. We demur from engaging in what is, after all, the greatest power in the universe. We are timid. But we are learning, I hope. It was decades ago when Dr. King said, "The hope of the world is still in dedicated minorities. The trailblazers in human, academic, and religious freedom have always been the minority. It will take a small, committed minority to work unrelentingly to win. That deep rumbling of discontent that we hear today is the thunder of disinherited masses rising from dungeons of oppression to the bright hills of freedom. All over the world, like a fever, the freedom movement is spreading in the widest liberation in history. The great masses of people are determined to end the exploitation of their races and land. They are moving toward their goal like a tidal wave. You can hear them rumbling in every village, street, on the docks, in the houses, among the students, in the churches,
and in the political meetings. Dr. King. You can hear it at Standing Rock, at the JFK and other airports last night, in the streets across the world as women pour out. Will our Unitarian Universalist faith take hold of this power and shape it in the direction of our dreams? Or will we be tumbled and washed away in the undertow? It is a question now of our courage, our willingness to respond to rapid change by embracing not a sentimental form of love, but a power-filled one. It is a question of our willingness to be vulnerable, yet strong. Our love is capable of learning as we go, of empowering new leaders, the young, the marginalized, the disabled, the queer. We are not afraid to leverage our power to amplify the voices of First Nations people or Black Lives Matter activists, swept up and held by the power of a world-transforming love. We understand that there are things that we must destroy before we can build a better world. What I am saying, Beckett, what I am saying, beloveds, is that we must not be timid. We may be afraid, but now is the time to be powerful. We are not acting alone. God's very self is, if it is anything at all, the creative, overwhelming, and renewing transformational power of love. And what on earth are we here for, if not to be a part of that? About that rock. You know, the rock that's in the water, that maybe the tidal wave wears away. Well, what about that? What is that rock? This is the question that kept me up at night as I meditated on this sermon. The easy answer, of course, is that it is all that we resist. It is the greed. It's the destructive forces of capitalism and corporatism and all that jazz. But I don't think it is. You see, the structures of society that stand in opposition to creative, life-affirming ways of being human and being a part of an interdependent web are nowhere near as sturdy and as steady as a rock. They cannot be. They are gossamer structures, houses of cards maintained only by a gross complicity of oppressor and oppressed, subject to change nearly overnight when that greater power of love sweeps in. Regimes fall. Despots flee. Financial systems collapse. No, those are not the rock. We may need our power to create change with those structures, but the rock that the water is wearing away is something else. I think we are the rock. I mean the personal and the collective we, our stories, our history, our attachments. Ask anyone who is engaged in change work, where is it hardest to root out racism? In our own hearts. Where is it hardest to advocate for change? In our own churches. What knowledge is hardest to uncover and understand? It is in our own whitewashed and carefully crafted histories. Of course it is. You see, I think none of us doubt that we are swept up in the tidal pool of history, that we live our lives in the turbulence of dangerous days. So we cling to the rocks of our lives. We naturally long for something that's going to hold steady in that raging stream. What could be more understandable? The good news of our faith is that it is grounded in the ability to adapt. It's able to adapt to new information and to a changing worldview. Among us, the words of the Reverend Lewis B. Fisher, who is Dean of the Universalist Seminary at St. Lawrence, these words are famous. He said, "Universalists are often asked where they stand. The only true answer is, we do not stand, we move." And we understand these words as religiously metaphorical, not a literal address to bodies. We are a faith tradition which moves. Unbound to a rigid creed, we live and have power as covenantal communities, and our covenants can respond to the changing conditions of our lives and our understandings. But that still doesn't solve the problem of our clinging to rock, what that's indicative of, does it? I mean, indeed, if we're not careful, our Unitarian Universalist faith, engaged carelessly, can increase that sense of being adrift or unmoored. No, I think we're going to have to use the power of metaphor again to help us loosen our grip and find a way to enter the stream and yet not be lost to it. I think it's true that the power of love is the water that wears down the rock of our stories. Over time, love illumines the flaws and the fault lines in our tales. It erodes old certainties. It wears away our sense of superiority and hopefully replaces it with a hunger for power with new stories, better understandings. That is good and that is right. The Reverend Sue Phillips suggests a different covenant metaphor for what carries us through and binds us together. And it's one that she drew from the poet William Stafford. It always comes back to the poets, doesn't it? Stafford wrote, it's called The Way It Is. There's a thread you follow. It goes among the things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread because it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen. People get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you can do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. There's a thread that you follow. We have to explain about the thread. It is our stories. It's the filaments of our attachments to one another. It is the basis for our covenants, and it is the knowledge that we are not alone, but instead a part of a community of faith and that stands ready at every moment to change the world in the direction of our ideals. Love is the power that wears down the rock, but don't worry. There's a thread that we follow. You don't ever let go of the thread. Beckett, you are ordained at a time of crisis, when what our faith calls for is leaders who can adapt rapidly to changing circumstances, while both holding and weaving the thread of our faith, that sturdy thread. We need your boldness, your radical compassion. We need you to be powerful, love-filled. Know the rocks of your soul. Help us see ours. Help us be not afraid as love wears them away. Today we celebrate that you have answered the call of love, and we ask you to take us with you on that journey to a better shore. May all blessings be upon you and upon the gathered people, as together we say, Amen.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place. When we tell our stories from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, we share the silence of a sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within. We feel the power of each other's faith. Then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Within the living tradition of Unitarian Universalism, the authority to confer ordination lies wholly within the local congregation. It is a meaningful and joyous occasion when congregations join together, as we have, to recognize one who has been called to ministry as their life's work.
In that tradition, we gather here today to ordain Rebecca Chase Coppola to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Will the ordinand please come forward and face the congregation? Sounds rather serious, doesn't it?
Beckett, recognizing your sense of obligation to serve the cause of liberal religion, having received the recommendation of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and by the authority of the vote of the members of this congregation, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder desires to ordain you to the Unitarian Universalist ministry.
I kind of like this Rebecca thing. Rebecca, recognizing your sense of obligation to serve the cause of liberal religion, having received the recommendation of the Ministerial Fellowship Committee of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and by the authority of the vote of the governing board of the congregation, Jefferson Unitarian Church desires to ordain you to the Unitarian Universalist ministry.
We offer you ordination, a privilege bestowed upon us by the nature of our free church. Among us, and wherever you may be called to serve, we would have you preach the word of truth in freedom and in love, ministering alike to our joys and sorrows, setting forth no less by your example than by your precept the principles of our free faith.
Beckett, are you persuaded by your head and your heart, by life experience, formal education, and the good counsel of your peers, that you are called to the Unitarian Universalist ministry?
I am.
That's good.
Hesitation. That's good.
Okay, we can continue. As the congregation where Beckett came to know her religious home and her call to ministry, will the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder please rise in body or spirit?
As a congregation that partnered with Beckett in her formation, witnessed her claiming of her gifts and her ministerial authority, will the members of Jefferson Unitarian Church please rise?
We, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder and Jefferson Unitarian Church, do hereby ordain you, the Reverend Rebecca Chase Coppola, Unitarian Universalist Ministry. We pledge ourselves to journey with you in unity of the Spirit, in the bond of peace, and in all the ways of truth and love. Will all gathered here who wish to add their voice please rise in body or spirit? With joy and pride, we affirm your ordination. We will continue to uphold you on your journey. May your ministry nourish the path of love beneath your feet, and may that ministry be a healing light in the world.
I'm going to read through tears, if you'll excuse me. With a deep sense of joy and celebration, I take up the ministry to which you ordain me. Ever mindful of its privileges and responsibilities, I pledge to minister from love, serving with curiosity, intelligence, and perseverance, with gratitude for all who have journeyed before me and beside me. I will aspire to speak the truth with love, to diligently fulfill the ministries with which I am charged, to live authentically and with integrity, and to nourish always the sparks of call and spiritual practice that my ministry may be sustained. May we so live, love, and labor together that we may see the light of truth and the life of grace revealed in each other.
I invite you into a moment of meditation and blessing. And so if you are comfortable, would you reach out and hold the hands of the people on either side of you? And if you're on an aisle, I'll invite you to just hold your hand open as a symbol of connection to one another and all that is. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the strength of Mother Earth holding you. Bring attention to your breath. Begin to breathe in and out through your nose. And if you can, sense the breath pattern of those on either side of you. Feel the others in this room through our physical connection of hands and breath. In this way, we create an interconnected web. All strands are connected. Each strand is full of love. And now I invite you, if you're willing, to stand, still staying connected. Rise in body or spirit. Feel the current of energy of this whole room now, all connected through hands and breath, directing itself to Beckett. And now let yourself experience how much you want her to be happy, free from anything that might cause her suffering. Direct loving kindness to Beckett. And now offer silent blessings to her, wishes for her as she assumes the role of pastor, preacher, prophet, and servant. Compassion. May Beckett be full of compassion, feeling with the world and all whom she serves. May she be full of curiosity and courage to expand her own faith and the presence of Unitarian Universalism in the world. And may her ministry bring her a deep sense of joy that refuels her daily. And now, draw your attention back to your own experience of this strong energy current of love and life in this room. And feel the loving kindness in the web we create together fuel you, sustain you for the work we do to transform ourselves so that we can transform the world. Blessings on Beckett and all of us. So be it.
I would like to invite other members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder Ordination Committee, as well as members of the Jefferson Unitarian Church Ministerial Internship Committee, to join me up here on the chancel. I'm sure I speak for everyone up here, and as well as everybody out there, that we are happy to be on this journey with you, Beckett. We are also happy to say again, the Reverend Rebecca Beckett Chase Coppola. We'd like to present this joint gift from both faith communities to you, Beckett, and we will be watching you, whether your journey is near or far.
Whew, the Reverend Rebecca Coppola. Woo! I'm so proud and I'm very honored to be here to bestow this gift on Beckett from her family who was not able to be here in person. Perry Coppola, her mother, and Leif Coppola, her brother, are here via live stream, wherever that may be. Hello and welcome. I know that you both must be as proud as I am of Beckett. I have watched her journey in the last few years, and I'm very proud to call her friend. She has so many wonderful qualities, just deeply courageous, full of integrity. She's been a lovely friend. I would say, most importantly, she has a wonderful sense of humor. And so on behalf of your family, I'd like to bestow upon you this lovely gift. It is a stole made by Marilyn Napoleon, handmade, called Pearl Stars.
There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love.
I don't think that's necessary. I had the honor and privilege of serving as Beckett's internship supervisor. It was the first time I served in that capacity. So Beckett, this day is one you will remember as long as you have the ability to remember. I'm an optimist, essentially. On this day, we say, not congratulations, but welcome. It is not that you have achieved something, though certainly you have met the requirements that all Unitarian Universalist ministers must meet. Yet what is more important, what is most true, is that you surrendered. You surrendered to the call that love has upon your life. Power-filled form of love is what Reverend Audette called it. The sort that wears down the rock, as we sang about it and had sung for us and enlivened our hearts. Love that wears down the rock. That was you, my nor'easter Yankee pal. Now little in your beginning portended this day, because yours was not a childhood nor a young adulthood spent in church or even considering it as a possibility. Isn't that right, Mama Perry? Some might even suggest that you had strong opinions about such people who frequented church. And those opinions likely never would have found themselves under the heading of charitable. This is a day to be honest, girlfriend. Your cells are being rearranged, so we gotta be truthful. And yet it is that the Holy kept poking at you, kept pointing you towards spiritual practice and community and the big sky and the mountains of the West. You surrendered. And in so doing, you embodied that gorgeous but unfinished poem of John O'Donohue, who said, I would love to live. I would love to live like a river flows, surprised by its own unfolding. You flowed and unfolded. So now you are in search for a church that is in need of your gifts, a church with whom you can work and do the beautiful work of ministry. And I want to tell you that no matter where you end up, a ministry is about one thing. See, when I was a lawyer, it was about the law and the facts. And when we had a realtor in the family, it was about location, location, location. But ministry is about relationship. Relationship. And so it tapped you on the shoulder. Beckett, you non-church going, half blue blood, half working class, with just a smidgen, just a little teeny tiny tendency of people pleaser. Maybe. It said you are going to be a minister. Now talk about the universe having a sense of humor. Did you see this one coming? No. And when it found you, it started as a niggle. It started, Beckett, you need to be a minister. And it never took no for an answer. But remember, Beckett, in our tradition, revelation is not sealed. Love is still speaking to you. Love is still calling you forth. Love is still wearing down the rock in you until it is just that thread that you're hanging on to, and you see all the hands of the people hanging on to that thread. And so you must take time to pray, to meditate, to walk in places that are only lit by the sun. Not so that you can tell your call what you want from it, where you'd like to go, but so you can hear what love wants of you. Second, bloom where you are planted. Whatever ministry next holds for you, go there and grow there. Don't wonder what's going on here. Be where you are. Be in relationship with that land, that city, those people, and for God's sake, with that church. Remember, you are a trained minister. You are relatively new to church life, so be curious. Get to know it. Ask questions. Gently bear witness to the foibles that is that church, and share dreams and love the hell out of them, so that together you can love the hell out of the world, because there's a plenty of it. Third, you live in a body. Be in relationship to it, be in it, and be you. I don't suppose, after the happenings of these last years, you will ever take your body for granted, as so many of us do. And yet it bears mentioning as you return to robust health. Remember to be in relationship with your body. Give yourself rest. Move. Laugh that outrageous laugh of yours. Let yourself have it. Cry. Find new people, non-church people to connect with, and maintain the connections that have sustained you here. Nourish and nurture your body. You, almost anyone, more than anyone else, know what that is. So Beckett, you and I met because the Reverend Howell Lind told you to go find a strong woman to work with. And apparently everyone before me said no. All right, play along, my people, play along. Apparently he thought that you needed to see what it is not to just have the knowledge, not to just be helpful, not to just be loving, but to be in your power and be authentic while doing it. Our supervision sessions continued the year after you left us as you companioned another strong woman minister, the Reverend Kelly Dignan, and this congregation, and now you continue to learn and work with your mentor, the Reverend Odette Fulbright. You have seen 3 different models, and now it is time to be fully Beckett. Accept the strength and the power that is uniquely yours. Companion it. Let others see it. Trust that you are enough. When you are in relationship with your body and content to be you, you hold all of us. You hold all of us in your enormous heart. It is what I tell people who I talk to when I recommend you. I say you will be held in an enormous heart, and you will know what it is to be loved. And if that's not ministry, I don't know what is. So, my friend, you have the ability to embody our theology, our core theology, that we were born in love to a circle that's one, that no one has ever been or could ever be separate from that love. And so I know my J to the power of J, my everything color-coded and in its own file. I live in envy, if not fear. is you. So tend to your relationships. Tend to your relationships. Tend to these three. And your ministry will be a blessing for generations. Amen.
It feels like it was just a few days ago. There were several years, and I can see probably right about there you were sitting actually, and the light went off. It was the reaffirmation of that call to ministry. This congregation, both Jefferson and Boulder congregation, didn't make you a minister. They're affirming who you are. That moment when you recognized your potential was the moment that gave hope to all of us, and love. I stand before you as a representative of all your colleagues that you've now joined. And probably as the oldest one here, that's probably my honor to. What we do as ministers is we welcome you with love, with understanding, with the sharing and support that we can offer you. And my golly, it's a pleasure, Beckett, to extend a right hand of fellowship to you on behalf of all your colleagues, all of us who practice ministry in this faith tradition. And the hug is from me.
What an honor it is to celebrate this occasion with you. We needed this spark of light in our day, so thank you. And gosh, it is a beautiful thing that you are embracing the ministry of this dedicated and compassionate minister, Reverend Beckett. Can I call you that, Reverend Beckett? All right. I didn't know if you wanted to be Reverend Rebecca, Reverend Beckett. I'm going to go with Reverend Beckett. Reverend Beckett